Part 90. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 900. Latest website. Bald head is an idle person on the surface, but he is still a businessman at heart. Isn't it just for making money? As long as he has money to earn, he doesn't care about some things. He doesn't have the kind of competitive nature in his heart. Money is the best weapon in the world to win over people's hearts. Lu Feng gave a red envelope to all the younger brothers, and said to everyone in front of him with his bald head, "From now on, you will be my eldest brother. No matter where you meet, you have to call me rich brother, you know." "I know," everyone responded in unison. "Bald head, you can be considered a general person. Let me ask you, how many guns do you have in your hand?" Lu Feng asked, staring at the bald head. "Not much, we don't do that kind of thing, but if rich brother needs anything, just ask." The bald head looked at the bodyguards behind Lu Feng, grinned and said, "You are already so rich, and you still do this to me. What are a bunch of bitter people fighting over?" "I am rich, but I have no power." Lu Feng patted him on the shoulder and said, "I won't use force on you today, but don't think that I am a good talker. If I am useful to you in the future, don't give me anything I refuse, do you understand?" "Understood." "Understood," the bald head nodded repeatedly. "If you give me face, I will definitely keep it, otherwise it will be shameless." "It's good to know." Lu Feng rushed to the next place with a kind of younger brother. Pattaya is not a big place, but there are hidden dragons and crouching tigers in just a few streets. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, Lu Feng was negotiating with a man named Brother Lang. The other party was quite famous in the area and was not convinced at all. The two sides clashed. A total of hundreds of people from both sides started fighting, with gunshots mixed in. Even the busiest areas of Pattaya could hear it, and the tourists seemed a little frightened. A fierce fight finally ended with Brother Lang weighing 7 shots. The second oldest member of the team called the police. Zilun arrived immediately and saw that it was Lu Feng. He and Lu Feng were smoking cigarettes and chatting about this Brother Lang. "Backing. Is the person dead?" Zilun asked the medical staff. "We can still save him." As they spoke, several people carried him into the ambulance. "It's not a pity for such a person to die. You don't have to go there. Just push someone over and make a note." Zilun smoked a cigarette and ordered, "It's not a big deal. I'm here." "Thank you." Lu Feng thought for a while and said, "I have established a new company and I am short of a consultant. You will be responsible for it when the time comes. You don't have to come to the company. The salary will be paid to your account every month. With my status, it's not convenient for me to transfer money." Zilun paused and said, "Cash, it's convenient for tax avoidance." "Ha ha ha, okay, it's getting late. You should go to bed early. There are more people now. I have to hold a meeting for them," Lu Feng said. "Are you still having a meeting? You're welcome. Let's go." Before Zilun left, he hugged Lu Feng's shoulders and moved his hands down his waist. "Slow down." Lu Feng laughed awkwardly, took 2 steps back, and distanced himself. "What are you doing? Can I eat you?" Zilun chuckled and said, "Brothers, don't go out to the public. How about having a drink when you have time in a few days?" "Drinking? I'll be fine after I've finished my work, don't worry," Lu Feng said in a confused way. "You said so," Zilun shouted to his men, "close the team." Seeing the convoy going away, Lu Feng breathed a sigh of relief and told the captain next to him, "Let all of them stand up for me. When the meeting begins, you stand by and act as my translator." The scene was extremely chaotic, with hundreds of people standing slightly loosely. The original people were standing outside, and the people recruited from the Viper were standing outside, so that they could take precautions if someone caused trouble. Lu Feng stood on a high ground in front, scanning the crowd and said solemnly, "Some unpleasant things happened just now, but we can't live in the past. It has just passed. We have to look forward. Now I will make a start with everyone. Meeting. Meeting. The people below were stunned. Who were they? How could the word meeting have anything to do with them? I know that everyone is not highly educated and has a bad background, and I am the same. Although we are not from the same country, we have the same experience. Once upon a time, I was also lost in life, living with alcohol all day long. Life for me is just a fog, going around in circles with no direction. But one day, a ray of sunshine penetrated the fog and shined into my life. I know that my life cannot be like this. Everyone's time is precious. I hope that when you grow old, you can watch the sunset and give when children and grandchildren talk about their lives, they will not feel regret for wasting their time, nor will they be upset because of their cowardice and laziness, nor should they be ashamed to see others when they see the answers they scribbled down. What I want to tell you is that you are all good, but you are missing a ray of sunshine to shine into your lives. From today on, face life positively, smile in front of everyone, keep your mind clear, and set a goal to become a hopeful person. Can everyone agree? Lu Feng asked everyone. No one said anything at the scene. It was funny to say this. Talking about life and ideals with these people? Have a good life, someone in the crowd muttered. When Lu Feng heard this, he frowned, raised the gun in his hand, and shot into the sky. Can everyone agree? Good. Okay, welcome to the rich family. From today on, everyone is a family that loves each other. However, in this big family, we also need someone to lead, so our team needs to have levels. The more you work, the more you will get. Everyone has it. Opportunities for promotion will help every dream, and performance appraisals will also be introduced. Different benefits will be provided for different levels. You can live in a luxury house, drive a luxury car, and become a person who dares to fight for your dreams. Lu Feng said to the crowd, are you willing, willing? The emotions underneath have been aroused. Lu Feng may not be good at fighting with these people, but when it comes to painting cakes, he is definitely the best in the audience. For tonight's outstanding performance, the captain will be rewarded with 50,000 baht in cash. At the same time, the opponent who surrendered the earliest will also be rewarded with 10,000 baht. Among ordinary players who perform well, there will be a 5,000 baht reward. The atmosphere at the scene began to change. The motivated people stood up straighter. The vice president who had just been promoted to take care of right bar in the past 2 days was not bad. Lu Feng temporarily put him in charge of these people, and appointed a few middle-level managers to manage several places. He also asked him to register a security company tomorrow. Towards formalization. After Lu Feng left, these people looked at me and I looked at you, a little dumbfounded. Are you going to work now? At 1 o'clock at midnight, Lu Feng dragged his tired body back to the hotel, took a shower and went to sleep. Everything was stable now, at least no one was watching downstairs, and the threatening phone calls disappeared. Sarami has been eating and drinking well these days, but she feels a little uneasy in her heart. She doesn't know what Lu Feng wants her to do, and she is not stupid. She has heard about Lu Feng from a few people around her in the past few days. Some things. The chairman of a multinational group, at such a young age, already has assets that many people would be unable to spend in a few lifetimes. At first she thought Lu Feng was attracted to her, but now it seems that there is no such thing as a woman like him. The next day, major magazines in Thailand began to publish the story of Thongpala, a man with great ambitions in science and technology who suffered countless bullying outside and finally returned to his country. Several major TV stations also began to broadcast this incident, and the information began to bombard ordinary people overwhelmingly. Some people who were familiar with Thongpala called him one after another. They couldn't understand how Thongpala, who started from a small store with little knowledge, had a certain network of contacts and sales channels for half his life, and suddenly became a scholar of overseas students. Tongpala didn't have much time to explain. What he had to face next were countless interviews and advertising shoots. In the past 2 days, he had memorized the script countless times. The identity of the technology boss cannot be broken, and he must show his patriotic emotions at the same time. In an interview, he talked about the bullying he had received overseas, and he broke down and burst into tears. In less than 3 days, the name Tongpala has become known to everyone in the country, especially his experience, which is simply a living and inspiring history. Lu Feng was very busy. During the day, he had to arrange a series of issues such as the new company's advertising, packaging and marketing, pricing strategy, brand positioning, etc. As soon as it got dark, he took off his suit and put on black casual clothes to lead a group of younger brothers in the battle. North and South. Pattaya is not big, and although there are many forces, Lu Feng advances very quickly. For some difficult things, he cooperates and recruits people as soon as possible. He sets up a security company and pays everyone a salary. All bars and nightclubs, all security expenses go into the company's accounts. Train your subordinates, divide them into different levels, and establish several major departments such as the Human Resources Department, the Finance Department, the Training Department, and the Business Department. For those who are unqualified and do not listen to discipline, they will be lectured first. If they do not listen, then they will be dismissed. There is a complete set of procedures. Of course, if you don't listen after being preached, you probably won't be able to hang out in the future. A week has passed by, and now 80% of the nightclubs in Pattaya are watched by people from Lu Feng. In order to prevent these people from causing trouble and causing trouble to themselves, this company has half a cent with Lu Feng. There is no money relationship, and the legal person is not Lu Feng. At the same time, an outsourcing company was set up to let them do some things through cooperation. Now there are 100 stores, and the staff has been recruited. Now we are waiting to sell goods. Kevin looked at the folder in his hand, looking a little tired, and said, "This one shouldn't be smashed." Bar. Not necessarily, let's wait a few days. Lu Feng suddenly remembered something and asked, "By the way, is the dinner party introduced by Dagi starting tomorrow night?" Yes, I almost forgot about this. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 901. Latest website. Lu Feng asked about Sarami's situation again and went directly to rest. The next day, Lu Feng woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning. This week was really tiring. Some outside media were still tracking and reporting on GFN Electronics. In the past, the domestic media was pessimistic, but now it has been upgraded. The international media has begun to pessimize. Regarding this kind of news, not only Lu Feng, but also senior executives such as Wei Yandan and Zhu Lidong didn't bother to take a look at it. For breakfast, there were more than a dozen local Thai newspapers in front of Inland Peak in the private room. A translator sat next to him and read. The headlines were all about Tongpala. This matter is a hot news in China. I don't know how ordinary it is. Ordinary people resent the high prices of foreign brands. Now that there is such an inspirational figure, there are countless calls for Tongpala to establish his own brand, a brand that belongs to Thai people. Some investors even unilaterally announced how much money they had invested in Tongpala to create an electronics brand belonging to the Thai people. Wanting to take advantage of the popularity, Tongpala had to announce that he had enough startup capital and had not contacted any investors. Is this Tongpala easy to control? Kevin worried after listening to the news in the newspaper. Don't mess with it then. Don't worry, he only has some sales channels and no technology or production lines. If he really wants to leave us, he will just wait to starve to death. Lu Feng took a bite of food and asked, "Have you eaten the sarami?" "I don't know," Should I let her come over, / call over and have a chat? A few minutes later, Sarami walked in elegantly dressed. Although she had nothing to do in the past 2 days, she maintained exquisite makeup and wore national costumes every day, which gave her a unique charm. Have you had breakfast? Lu Feng looked her over and asked with a smile. Have eaten. Come on, sit down, Lu Feng said politely. Sarami sat down. Someone had told her last night that she would attend an important dinner tonight. All the preparations during this period were for this day's dinner. She was quite anxious. After all, she had grown up in bitter waters and had never seen any big scenes. She kept thinking about the etiquette she had learned in the past few days in her mind. Have they told you about the dinner? Lu Feng looked at her and said, don't be nervous. In fact, the dinner is just a group of rich and powerful people gathering together to have a meal. You are one of them tonight, one member. Okay, Sarami said slightly stiffly. Kevin felt that he was not suitable here, so he said very wisely, I have finished eating. There are still things in the new company that I need to keep an eye on. I will go to the company first. Okay, Lu Feng waved his hand towards him and said, go ahead. There were only 3 people left in the private room, Lu Feng, Sarami, and the translator. Lu Feng looked at her and said, you told me that you want to change your destiny, so tonight you have the opportunity to change your destiny. This kind of opportunity is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Sarami raised his head after hearing this and looked at Lu Feng with some confusion. Wasn't he the one who changed his destiny? I think it's pretty good now. Don't you like me? Sarami asked timidly. Lu Feng was also stunned. Did she think that she was following her just because she felt as comfortable as she did these past few days? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Even the woman who follows Lu Feng has to fight on her own. If she just thinks about having fun and is lazy, she can't stay by Lu Feng's side. No, I think you are a very good person and want to help you. There is a special person at tonight's dinner. I seem to have mentioned it to you, the Royal Prince Maha. He will appear tonight. Dinner, so take advantage of the opportunity. Sarami was troubled when she heard Maha. She was not very good at pleasing others. Although she had been with hardships since she was a child, it also gave her a strong heart. I'm afraid that people don't like me. Besides, what is their identity and what is my identity? Sarami whispered. It doesn't matter, you have to be confident. Besides, Maha is different from others. Lu Feng patted her shoulder and comforted her. I have worked so hard to help you, you can't say no. I'll try my best, Sarami said, but she felt particularly awkward in her heart. She always believed that as long as she worked hard, one day she would grow into a towering tree. She had never relied on others since she was a child, and she never relied on others. She doesn't think there is anyone in this world that she can rely on. Lu Feng did not ask about the company today. He stayed with Sarami and told her that this was an opportunity to change her destiny. At the same time, when she became successful, she must understand who gave her this opportunity. Before you know it, night has fallen. In the suburbs, a manor covers an area of 30 acres. There are not only traditional Thai temple-style buildings, but also European-style 3-story Western-style buildings. The roads are all paved with uniform stone slabs. The core area is extremely clean, with countless golden towers around it decorated with lights. People are already arriving one after another. The seats in the chat area in the middle are all flown in from Europe. Not far away is not a traditional swimming pool, but a swimming pool. It is located in a natural hot spring. There are more than 20 people standing at the edge of the hot spring. Everyone is smiling. Every visitor can go down for a dip, and then come up and order an authentic Thai horse and cheek chicken from any technician. In a large room in the corner, through the glass you can see a group of orioles, dressed very interestingly, and you can even see some local second and third-rate female stars and she-male beauty pageant champions. At around 6 o'clock in the evening, before nightfall, Lu Feng and his group had already got into the car and drove away according to the address on the invitation. There are people greeting guests at the door, all dressed in extravagant and solemn clothes. The people coming tonight are either rich or noble, and they are definitely members of the ruling class. Songpa walked in with Shasha and 2 other girls, and handed over the invitation in his hand. "It's an honor to have you here. Welcome, Mr. Songpa. Please come in." The receptionist bowed slightly. "Please follow me." 2 etiquette ladies led the way forward. Even though Songpa was tormented by a little Eisen on Wall Street, here he is definitely a being that ordinary people look up to. Sasha is Songpa's favorite, and behind him are 2 beautiful women who are also his girlfriends. At such banquets, sometimes you can make friends with some important people and strengthen your relationship. And these women around me are sometimes the key to making friends. Capital will devour people's hearts. For them, nothing in this world is untreatable. As long as you can bring me enough benefits, everything can give way. As for women or men, it doesn't matter. There can be no forever young women, men, or she-males in this world, but there will always be young women, men, and she-males. As long as you firmly hold the money and status, any beautiful skin can be reappeared. Lu Feng's car stopped at the door. The doorman opened the door. Lu Feng got out of the car, tidied his clothes, and walked over with a group of people. "Welcome, Mr. Lu, please come with me. It is very spacious inside, not much different from the dinner decorations of some wealthy people in China, it just has a little more local characteristics of the building." But for Sarami, it was the first time he saw the real luxury of the rich. The dinner had not yet started, and some old acquaintances gathered together to chat. From time to time, a few beauties would run out and have a laugh, and their giggles were eye-catching. Many people gathered together to bet on whether these beauties were women. Lu Feng didn't know anyone else, so he found a place to sit down and glanced around. Maha probably wouldn't appear now. Since he was here for a while, it should be when the organizer of the dinner appeared. He also will appear. Instead of finding the organizer, Lu Feng found a familiar figure. "Songpa." Lu Feng stared at his back in surprise. He didn't recognize Songpa, but he recognized Shasha beside him. This woman, she-male, is really too eye-catching. Maybe this is why men understand men best. "Walk." Lu Feng stood up, took Sarami with him, asked the waiter for a glass of champagne, walked over and said, "Brother Songpa? I didn't expect to meet him here." When Songpa heard someone calling him from behind, he turned around and saw Lu Feng, who was also stunned, with a rather surprised expression. During this period, he also knew that Lu Feng was in Thailand through some international media newspapers, but he did not expect that the 2 parties would meet. Songpa is different from Lu Feng. He has already fallen into the arms of Wall Street and is now a holding company of Goldman Sachs. He can do international trade casually, and his rubber business has doubled several times in a short period of time. Lu Feng was the object of ridicule internationally, and he did not want to have anything to do with such a person. "Hello," Songpa said with a very restrained expression, "we are indeed very destined. When we were on Wall Street, you said that I could contact you if I had anything to do here. I was too busy at the time and didn't leave a business card." "I didn't expect such a fate," Lu Feng said with a smile. "Let's sit down for a drink and catch up on old times." "Definitely, definitely. I have something to do over there, let's talk about it later." Songpa smiled, pulled Shasha and left. The wine glass in Lu Feng's hand was about to be touched, but the stalemate in the air was a bit awkward. People around him saw Songpa walking away as if he was avoiding the plague god, and after looking at Lu Feng, they all dispersed. "Isn't he your good friend?" Sarami asked in confusion. "Whether I'm a good friend or not depends on whether I'm useful or not." Lu Feng took a sip of champagne, looked at Sarami and said, Look at these people, if the upper class is just pure low life, then they are really it's pure. It's okay, there are always friends you can talk to, Sarami encouraged. What you said is so simple. In this world, it's not that the road is easier when you have more friends, but it's easier to have more friends when you have more friends, Lu Feng said to her. Believe it or not, when you become the princess, these things will everyone is your best friend. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 902. Latest website. These words are too realistic for Sarami, who is in her early 20s, but these years of ups and downs have forced her to agree with these words deep in her heart. As night fell, almost everyone had arrived. There were constant greetings, and the liveliness of others and the silence of Lu Feng were particularly distinct. Lu Feng didn't care about these snubs. He sat there alone and chatted with Sarami about the life of the rich. After a while, Maha appeared and how she should say hello. This is a big dyeing vat. In the next half hour, Lu Feng finally got to see what the world of capital is. A group of big guys finished chatting and started playing some vulgar games. There was even an unbearable thing like walking the dog. Picture. Except for those who are rich and powerful, everyone else here seems to have lost the qualifications to be a human being and can be played with, beaten, and humiliated at will. If anyone can't accept it, throw money away immediately and tell you that you will never be able to walk in here again. Don't think that no one will come. There are countless good-looking men and beauties outside who are waiting eagerly. When a person thinks that he can make money by losing his dignity, and he really does so, he will realize that there are so many shameless people in the world. Before he knew it, it was already past 9 o'clock in the evening, and the scenes under the starlight were so unsightly that even Lu Feng felt a little uncomfortable. If I were to take a photo and post it right now, it would be a mosaic that would fill the screen. At 9:30, a bloated man in loose casual clothes walked over. He looked about 50 years old, with slightly white skin, 2 mustaches, and a somewhat wretched appearance. He held a cigar in his hand. Followed by a thin man in his 40s with a long face. As soon as the 2 people appeared, everyone surrounded them. It was obvious that these 2 were the protagonists tonight. The rightful owner is here. The rest is up to you. Don't be nervous. Go up and have a drink. Lu Feng stood up and said to Sarami, do you remember? Sarami had never seen such a formation before. It was fine just now, but with so many big guys surrounding the 2 of them, how could she not get stage fright? Lu Feng saw her state and sighed, be thick-skinned. It's up to me. Follow me. Lu Feng held it for a lifetime, walked over, glanced at the translator, and signaled her to translate it later. With the 2 people at the center, there were already 3 floors inside and 3 floors outside. Lu Feng couldn't squeeze in at all. Lu Feng, who was standing outside, suddenly shouted, you ask me who I am? You don't even know me? I am Jia Feng, the founder of the group. Lu Feng, there is no one more awesome than me in this world, and Lambert will be a little timid when he sees me. Compared to the soft voices and gentleness of these people, Lu Feng's voice was like a roaring bell. In an instant, everyone's eyes were fixed on him. Even the dinner host and Maha looked at him in surprise. Being stared at like this for an instant, the translator couldn't bear it anymore. Mr. Lu was shameless, but she was shameless. But after getting paid, you have to do things. She translated at the top of her voice. While everyone was stunned, Lu Feng pulled the others aside, stood in front of Maha, and stretched out his hand to shake his hand. Shake hands. Dear Your Highness, my name is Lu Feng. I am from China and the founder of Jiafeng Electronics Group. I feel extremely honored to meet you here, Lu Feng said politely to him. Maha froze on the spot. He had never seen such a person before, but with so many people watching, he was from a neighboring country. As a foreign guest, it seemed inappropriate to be rude to him. "Hello, welcome Mr. Lu to invest in us," Maha said politely. The man with a mustache was already gesticulating to the person next to him. A man in his 30s came over and pulled Lu Feng's arm and said in Mandarin, "Sir, please come this way. I have something else to say. Don't be like this. I'm here to invest in you. I'm just excited to see His Highness the Prince." Lu Feng seemed to have a social awkwardness. He grabbed Maha's hand and said, "Maybe you are right, I don't know much about it, but we are the largest private enterprise in China, with a valuation of 400 billion, baht. Mr. Lu is really a model for young entrepreneurs around the world. I seem to have seen relevant reports about you in international newspapers," Maha recalled. "That's right, that's us. We recently raised $3.5 billion in Europe. This money needs to be invested. You also know that China's economy is very average. Where in Asia is the most suitable place for investment? Of course it is Thailand. Not only the people are kind, and the industry is complete, it is second to none in the whole of Asia." Lu Feng spoke like a barrage of words, without any breath, and said, "We have plans to invest $2 billion in Thailand to build Jiafeng's largest production base." Maha was originally here to have fun, but Lu Feng was so boastful that it seemed inappropriate for him not to take it seriously. "Mr. Lu really has this plan?" Maha asked. "Yes, I have been here for a normal period of time, just for inspection. After this period of inspection, I think the place is very suitable for investment. Whether it is global capital, cargo transportation, or technology industry chain, it is very suitable for us." "Request," Lu Feng said seriously. Dozens of local business tycoons were present, but Lu Feng was standing alone holding Maha's hand and bragging. Not to mention Sarami, even Kevin was dumbfounded here. If it were an ordinary person, he would be coaxed away without even saying a word. Lu Feng knew exactly what he needed, so he used the investment pie to get close first. The two chatted for a few minutes, and Maha was already a little impatient. "He came here not thinking about work. It's a great honor to meet you. This is my friend. She has a special admiration for you and says that you are the most manly existence among Thai men." Lu Feng couldn't wait for Sarami to come forward, so he could only take the initiative to create an opportunity for her. Sarami took a step forward, not daring to look up, and said timidly, "Hello, Your Highness." The women next to Maha were all staring at him, with hooks in their eyes that were almost tempting. This shy woman with her head lowered instantly hit the itch in his heart. "What's your name? Lift your head and let me see." Maha showed a trace of obscenity. Sarami raised her head slightly and showed a smile. When Lu Feng saw this scene, he exclaimed in his heart that it was perfect. Her performance tonight, not to mention Maha, he couldn't escape. Who doesn't like a shy person? Beauty. "Mr. Lu, how about we change places and talk about investment?" Maha actively invited. "Okay, thank you very much for your help to us foreign enterprises," Lu Feng said happily. "Please." The two parties walked towards the stairs. Others were a little anxious at first sight. In such an important place today, a foreign investor stole the limelight. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that they are talking about something worth 2 billion when they go upstairs. They are obviously talking about something worth hundreds of millions. Songpa saw Lu Feng and Maha walking away chatting and laughing. He stood there in a daze. Then he turned back to look at his two little girlfriends and cursed, "You are not living up to expectations." The two little girlfriends are also particularly aggrieved. Obviously you can't take them away. After arriving in a room, they were polite to each other for a long time. Lu Feng knew that he didn't want to hear anything about the company, so he just started talking about Sarami. Retelling her experience really made the listeners sad and the listeners weeping. "She is really an ill-fated woman." Maha looked at Sarami and said, Don't worry. If anything happens in the future, you can come to me. Really, Lu Feng took the lead and said with a grateful look on his face, you are really serving the country and the people. I am not from here. I can't arrange her life. Are you really? You have done me a great favor, thank you very much, Your Highness. Thank you, Your Highness, Prince Sarami whispered. Things have gone smoothly, and it is a bit easier than Lu Feng imagined. It is indeed a foregone conclusion in history. Lu Feng took the opportunity to say, I am not feeling well, so I'll excuse you for now. I'm sorry. Lu Feng took the opportunity to leave the private room and took the translator with him. The night outside was particularly alluring. Compared to the explicitness of the scene, the naked moonlight seemed a bit shy. Perhaps the human world was too absurd for it to bear to look directly at. As long as Sarami is done, no matter whether it is the business community or the people who threaten him, he will be able to push all the way and become invincible. Hello, Mr. Lu, Songpa came over with a smile on his face, holding a wine glass, looking very much like Lu Feng just now, and said, I believe it is God's arrangement to meet again here. It's fate. Just now I thought you didn't believe in fate. Lu Feng stared at him and said. There are just a few old friends who are neglecting me. You said you are the same. Just call me when you come to Thailand. If you need anything, just tell me my name, Songpa said very grandly. Lu Feng cursed in his heart, I need your humming phone number. The two of them seemed to be good friends who had not seen each other for many years, and they chatted very happily. Songpa introduced his two girlfriends to Lu Feng, both of whom were beauties in their 20s and over 1.7 meters tall. Hello, Mr. Lu. Hello, Mr. Lu. The two people's big eyes blinked, as if they had hooks, which made people's hearts itch. What are you doing? Are you too polite? Lu Feng said with a smile. We are all brothers, why are you so polite? This is my business card. If you need anything, remember to call me. Songpa finally handed over his business card. Then I'll use it, but you're welcome. Lu Feng took the business card away and handed over his contact information before he could be polite. Suddenly, Sarami ran downstairs crying, didn't speak at all, covered his face and ran all the way to the door. What's wrong? Lu Feng's face was full of questions, and he hurriedly turned around and explained, I'm sorry, my friend has never seen much of the world, and may be a little unstable. I'll go check it out. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 903. Latest website. Lu Feng chased her out, and a group of bodyguards naturally followed. Before they reached the garden at the gate, Lu Feng grabbed her shoulders and asked, What's the matter? Sister, please don't cause trouble for me at this time, okay? Sarami was mumbling, choking as he spoke, looking as if he had been greatly wronged. Lu Feng told her that neither of them could understand what the other said, so they could only worry. It took a while for the translator to catch up, and they were out of breath. Quick! Ask her what's going on and do this for me, Lu Feng said to the translator. Sarami's eyes were red and he didn't speak. He just stood there crying silently. After a while, he finally said, He asked me to kneel down and give him, wu. After the translator finished speaking, he looked at Lu Feng with some embarrassment and said, This seems to be progressing too fast. Lu Feng covered his face with his hands and was speechless. Many women wanted this opportunity but they didn't. Instead, she was being pretentious and couldn't help but said, Is there any mistake? Don't you know who you are? You want to get what others have. If you can't, of course you want to please others, so do you still expect fairy tale love? Sarami didn't say anything. She still had dignity deep down in her heart. This kind of life was definitely not what she wanted. Although her personality was submissive, deep down she still wanted to lead her own life instead of living like a plaything. Go back first, seeing that she still had no idea, Lu Feng had no choice but to retreat first. On the way back, Sarami looked at the bustling night view outside the car window without saying a word. She really didn't want to come to this point. She wished she could rely on her own hands to lead her life step by step and let herself look up. Live in this world with your chest held high. But let me ask, how many people in this world can do this and still be rich? Living in this world, the first thing most people do when they wake up in the morning is to surrender to the world, go to work reluctantly, and do something reluctantly. Lu Feng didn't say anything along the way. The road to Sarami may not be feasible. Lu Feng didn't know how the two got together. Maybe it was because the time hadn't come yet, or maybe it was because Lu Feng had followed Lu Feng in this life. Appears, this woman's fate will be reversed. Fortunately, Lu Feng did not put all his hopes on her. As long as he started a new company and established a security company, he could still guarantee his business in Thailand under double insurance. When we arrived at the hotel, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. Kevin had just finished working on the company's affairs. When he saw Lu Feng coming back, he hurriedly asked, "You're back so early? There was an accident. Let's not talk about it. The focus is on the new company. How long will it take for the product to be launched?" Lu Feng asked him. "Today starts a week-long promotion period. All major TV stations are reporting on this matter. The commercial is finished today and will be broadcast the day after tomorrow. Taking advantage of the popularity, we plan to launch the product next week." Kevin picked it up. The folder in his hand said, "The original brand logo has almost been wiped off, and the VCD logo has almost been removed. Which product will be put on the shelves first?" "Then put the VCD on the shelves first, and hold a press conference to hype up the atmosphere. Buy on the spot, find the largest open-air plaza, and get feedback," Lu Feng said solemnly. "I will go to the scene in person then. Sell the inventory. This is indeed a matter. If the next batch of domestic goods does not have to be relabeled, it will have been shipped by now. Even if it is to be relabeled, it will take up to 10 days to arrive," Kevin said worriedly. "The key is the international aspect." "Okay, let's not talk about international affairs. Schroeder Group will not tear up the contract in the short term. Once we see that we still have value, everything will be fine. Now is the time to do things quietly." "What about other companies?" Lu Feng asked. "Ask about the market situation. It's very intense. A very rare thing happened today. Toshiba's Thai president actually stood up and criticized Motorola's president Chathai, saying that he was engaging in malicious competition and seriously violated Thailand's market price regulations and should be investigated for anti-dumping charges. Motorola has been crazy during this period. It already had a strong brand in the local area, but as soon as the price was reduced, it was immediately snapped up." "Dog bites dog," Lu Feng thought for a moment and said, "but it can also be seen from the side that the market competition has entered a fierce stage. The market price and net profit here are set by the headquarters, and they each have their own performance appraisals. This Toshiba boss can't handle it anymore. It's true. I recently heard that their profit rate here is as high as 370%, Kevin sighed. "These capitals are really eating people's bones, and our profit rate here is only 100%. 150. Stop talking about this, go to bed early." Lu Feng glanced at the time and planned to take a rest tonight. The security company's work was suspended. At midnight, Sarami was sitting in her room unable to sleep. Everything she had ever dreamed of had been realized in the past few days, and she was living the life she wanted. But she also understood that when she lost her use value, Lu Feng would never give herself such a life. This night was destined to be painful for her. At around 5 o'clock in the morning, Sarami, who had just slept for a few hours, was awakened by a phone call. He reached out to pick up the phone and asked, "Who is this?" "What about Sarami?" The voice on the other end of the phone was very anxious. "I am. It's me, The foreman of the dance hall said anxiously, "I've been wanting to call you these days, but I don't know how to contact you. I really have no choice but to go to Diggy. Something happened at home. Your mother, I called you and said, I borrowed money before, but now people are demanding the debt. Your parents have been stuck in the house for a long time, and they want to set the house on fire. You should go back quickly and pay back the money." Ah! Sarami was dumbfounded. How could he have the money to pay back the money? Didn't they agree to borrow it for half a year? Why do they need money after only 2 months? Where do I have money now? Sarami was already panicking. You've already fallen in love with such a rich boss, and you're still short of money? The ballroom can give you a lot of settlement. Thank you, sister. Sarami was extremely anxious. She hung up the phone and called the phone booth in the village. No one answered, so she could only pack her things first. While cleaning up, she secretly begged Lu Feng to help her, but thinking about what happened last night, she felt guilty. After sorting it out, it was already past 6 in the morning, and neither Lu Feng nor Kevin woke up. She waited until after 7 o'clock, but she couldn't wait any longer, so she could only knock on Lu Feng's door. The doorbell rang several times, and Sarami stood at the door holding hands nervously. She didn't know how to face Lu Feng. After a long time, the door to the room opened. Lu Feng looked at Sarami sleepily and frowned. What's this so early in the morning? I'll wake up the translator first. After being woken up by the translator, Lu Feng understood what was going on and could only lament that the hemp rope was broken at the smallest point. Bad luck only seeks out the poor. Borrowing money from people in society for medical treatment is in itself a matter of borrowing life from the Lord of Hell. The behavior of I wonder if I can borrow some money from you, and I will definitely pay it back at this moment. Sarami was at a loss, and she counted all the money she could get. She looked at Lu Feng, put down her dignity at this moment, and said, I'll pay back the money, and I can accompany you if you need it. There was silence in the room, and the translator fell silent after speaking. No one wanted to see this scene. You go back first, I can help you as much as I can. Lu Feng took a deep breath and said, I just hope you can think it over for yourself. For many people, no matter what they choose, fate will not let you go. For some, sometimes it's the bitterness of being rich, sometimes it's the bitterness of being poor. Sarami didn't know what he meant, but when he heard that Lu Feng was willing to help, he made a gesture of kneeling on the ground. Is your home far from here? Lu Feng asked. If you drive, it takes more than an hour. If you take a car, it takes more than 4 hours. There is no direct connection, Sarami replied. Then don't worry, let's have breakfast first. Lu Feng told her not to be too anxious. Last night, Sarami ran out of the private room. Maha was dumbfounded. He never dreamed that a woman in this world would reject him. He was not a fool. He understood what Lu Feng meant by bringing Sarami. This was just the first time he encountered this situation. It's not necessarily love for the prince to pursue Cinderella, it may be that he has never seen someone like her before. The itching of wanting to resist and welcome is the most uncomfortable. Maha didn't sleep well all night, and she was still thinking about it when she got up. It was like a piece of cake that reached her mouth but didn't eat. She kept wondering about the taste of this cake in her mind. Before 8 o'clock in the morning, a call came to Lu Feng. When Kevin told Lu Feng that there was such a call, Lu Feng was also surprised, and then he laughed dumbly and said, it is said that he slapped the overbearing president. The overbearing president covered his face and said, this girl has such a personality. Mr. Lu, what are you talking about? Kevin asked in confusion. It's nothing, I just didn't expect that such a plot would happen in reality. Isn't this an opportunity for a hero to save a beauty? Lu Feng smiled and walked towards the phone. I am Lu Feng, good morning, Your Highness, Prince, Lu Feng said politely. Is that girl from last night okay? asked the other end of the phone. I'm really sorry. She was too young and ignorant, and she made you unhappy. I taught her a lesson when I came back. It's a pity that she doesn't understand your kindness. In the morning, news came from my hometown that something big happened. I'll be ready to leave in a moment. Lu Feng pondered for a moment and said, don't worry, I still have a few good sisters who I will introduce to you and get to know. No, what happened to that girl? The other end of the phone asked concerned. Lu Feng listened to the concern on the phone and smiled unconsciously on his face. It seems that this is the inevitability of history. Sarami's fate has long been destined and cannot be changed. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 904. Latest website. Lu Feng briefly explained the matter. When Maha heard such a thing on the other end of the phone, the sky fell for Sarami. For him, wasn't it just a matter of one sentence? Where is her home address? Asked the other end of the phone. Wait a moment, I'll ask. After Lu Feng said that, he stood up and hurriedly walked towards Sarami, looked at her and asked, where is your home address? Carol. Lu Feng told Maha about his disciple, but the other party hung up the phone. Originally, Lu Feng didn't plan to go with her on this trip, but since Maha got involved, this matter was not a simple matter. At the same time, Lu Feng also wanted Sarami to see Maha's strength. Here, except for a few people, he can be said to be the one who covers the sky with one hand. Half an hour later, the convoy set off, and Lu Feng and his group rushed to Kalar by car. Kalar is a small town on the edge of Bangkok. Bangkok is definitely a prosperous metropolis now, but less than 200 kilometers away from it, this town is extremely poor. The houses here are simple and simple, made of simple wood. Since the climate is not too cold, they are wrapped with straw mats outside, so they will not freeze to death in winter. Domestic garbage is dumped everywhere on the streets, and the smell of filth rises into the sky. The children here are barefoot, and everyone is sallow and thin, which takes the word poverty to the extreme. Sarami is like a big star here. Everyone knows that Sarami went to a good university. However, the burden of illness caused the family to suffer sudden bad news. It is very sad that something like this happened again today. Sarami's home is a simple wooden house, with a room for people living above and a few sheep below. Not to mention her home, even in this village, even if a thief comes, he will leave in tears. The door of Sarami's house was closed, and there were about 20 people standing outside the door. They were all arrogant young people. They were standing at the door shouting with things in their hands. As the car entered, such a luxurious convoy quickly attracted the attention of the people in the village, and many children ran after the car. The car stopped at the door and opened the door. Sarami quickly got out of the car and shouted at the group of people, "What are you doing? Don't hurt my family. Didn't we agree on it for half a year? It's only been a few months. Keep coming to collect accounts." The leader, a man in his 40s, had a bald head. He looked back at Sarami and smiled, stroking his bald head to look a bit vulgar. "Sarami, are you back?" As he spoke, he saw the car next to him, looked around at Lu Feng and the others, and said, "What? Did you find a backer in the city? There are only 2 of them today. The choice is, either pay back the money, or you come with me." "Where's my dad?" Sarami looked at the house with the door closed and said nervously, "You didn't do anything to them, did you?" "Your dad is paralyzed, what can I do to him?" "Don't worry." The man stared at Lu Feng and said, "Boy, you have money, right? If you have money, pay back the money." "It has nothing to do with me, you guys can talk," Lu Feng replied. "Oh, he's still a foreigner," the man sneered, "are you starting to play with foreign products? I won't say anything more. If you don't want to come with me, bring me 1 million baht." 1 million, Sarami was stunned when he heard this number. At that time, He only borrowed 50,000 baht for medical treatment. In less than 3 months, it had doubled 20 times. The villagers who were watching were shocked when they heard this number, and they all shouted that it was a robbery. 1 million baht. The money Sarami earned in the dance hall, plus his original savings, was only 100,000 baht, which was a drop in the bucket compared to 1 million baht. How can it be 1 million? Sarami argued with them. What's the use of talking to these people? If you don't pay back the money today, they will demolish the house and come back tomorrow. Then they don't know what to do. Sarami's eyes were red from crying. She felt helpless at this moment. Listening to her mother's cry in the room, she turned her head and looked at Lu Feng with tears streaming down her face. The door of the house opened, and a young man in his 20s came out. He was wearing slippers and looked very lazy. He looked at Sarami and said, "Can you do that as a man? You can't even afford 1 million, these cars it will cost more than this amount if you sell it. If you don't have any money, just go with Pigeon." "How can you say that?" Sarami looked at his brother. "Don't you have to get married in the end? Whoever you marry is not getting married. If the man can't help you, then find someone who can help you. What's the use of reading so many books? In the end, won't you just become a dancer? That's not getting married. People, serve people. Why not marry a rich man, and the whole family can enjoy the blessings, and I can buy a car?" Her brother's words were like a knife piercing her heart. Sarami couldn't cry anymore. She just felt sad. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't fill this family. Lu Feng was leaning on the car, smoking a cigarette and basking in the sun. He didn't want to ruin other people's good things. When this man named Pai Zhen saw that Lu Feng was unwilling to meddle in other people's business, he was not polite. He put the thing in his hand away from his waist, smiled and walked towards Sarami, muttering in his mouth. Said, "So fair. You don't have any money, do you? Come with me." Sarami cried. Lu Feng smoked a cigarette and looked at the scene in front of him, sighing, "Aren't these Yang Beilao and Huang Shiren?" Pigeon hugged and hugged him again and again, and the two sides kept pulling and pulling. His younger brothers looked on excitedly and made constant cheers. Before Pigeon could take action, 3 jeeps came speeding up, bringing up a burst of dust. The cars stopped and a dozen people in military uniforms got out. "What are you doing?" shouted a low voice. The man in his 30s who was leading the charge took out the gun in his arms and emptied the entire magazine without saying a word. The sound of gunshots rang through the air, and the surrounding villagers were frightened and turned around and ran away. Not to mention the group of people at this moment, even Sarami was dumbfounded. More than a dozen people came over. The man in the lead looked at Sarami and asked, "Is it Sarami?" Sarami nodded numbly, not knowing what these people were looking for. "Hello, I am the captain of the Royal Guard Squadron, Raymana. Prince Maha sent me to protect you." Raymana saluted Sarami and looked at Pai Zhen and others. Pai Zhen's legs were trembling at the moment. He came out to fool around, so of course he knew who was calling the shots in this country. "Yes, I'm sorry, we are good friends." Pigeon forced out a smile that was uglier than crying. 15 minutes later, all the 20 or so people were waiting to be captured. After the court's decision at noon, they were killed in the afternoon. For them, it was just to take care of the court's face and go through the procedures, otherwise they would all be killed on the spot. It's not a big deal. All the leaders in charge of this area came and said that Sarami had set an example for the women in the area by studying hard and getting into college. They would reward her with a house and also give out certain bonuses. All this changed so quickly, Sarami became the pride of 100 miles away in an instant. She looked at the people in the village and felt nothing but envy at this moment. No matter how many people she had trouble with in the past, they all now smiled back. For the first time, she felt the benefits of power. It turned out that change was so easy. Everything she once desired was at her fingertips. There was no need to declare war on fate or gamble her whole life. Even her disobedient brother became an obedient child standing in front of Ramana, surrendering to everything. This feeling made cracks appear in her rock-solid heart. If she could get it by paying for something less important, then this would definitely be a good deal. Many times, trying to persuade someone with earnest words is not as shocking as the reality. At noon, Lu Feng had a meal with Sarami in a restaurant in Bangkok. Ramana had already returned after completing her mission. Lu Feng could feel the difference in her at the dinner table. There are many people in this world who look down upon wealth. That is because most people in this world have never lived the life of a rich person. They simply live in an intercontinental hotel for a while, eat a few Western meals, and ride in a luxury car a few times. The little girl has already sunk, even more so when she has the power to control her own mood. There are too many people in this world who hate privilege. They don't hate privilege, they just hate that privilege cannot be used for themselves. While eating his meal, Sarami raised his head, glanced at Lu Feng, and asked, "Can I still see him?" "Of course, he has sent people to help you." Lu Feng looked at her and said, "You can listen to the story of Cinderella and the prince, but don't take it seriously. You have to remember that there are many women around him. How can you stay? You need to use your brain." "I know." Sarami understood that she did not have a prominent family. She said to Lu Feng, "As long as you help me, I will naturally not forget you. I have no background, and I hope you can help me more." "Cheers." Lu Feng picked up the red wine glass and clinked it with her. In this matter, Dagi no longer needs help from the middle. As Maha and Sarami walked in, countless invitations came like snowflakes. Many bosses even wanted to sponsor it and offered millions. Tens of millions of red envelopes as consolation money. Lu Feng refused all the money and let Sarami stay at the hotel peacefully. He went to visit Tongpala in the afternoon. In just a few days, he lost a lot of weight. He was busy with various announcements every day, and there were many people around him. Makeup artists are treated like celebrities. "Has the venue been selected?" Lu Feng asked. "We have chosen a large stadium that can accommodate more than 10,000 people, and we have started to promote it. The ticket price is very low, 1 baht, and it has been sold out." Kevin looked quite excited and said, "The label of patriotism, it's really inspiring. If we only have labels and no product strength, it will still be nothing, but we are different. We have this strength," Lu Feng said with a smile on his face. "Next, let these large international companies welcome the Iron Fist." Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 905. Latest website. In the United States, the Global Financial Summit is already in full swing. Not only the world's major capitals will be present at this summit, but also the world's major banks will be present to make judgments on the economies of various countries and give future investment suggestions. Such a high-end summit was attended by the CEO of Merrill Lynch, the executive president of Goldman Sachs, and the senior president of Schroders. The main content of the meeting was the global economy, but after the meeting, the president of Goldman Sachs stood up, took off the headphones for simultaneous interpretation, looked at the people behind him, and said, "This year's meeting was really fruitful. Who says it isn't? By the way, there seems to be no news about the GFN Electronics Group you invested in recently," he asked, pretending to be curious. "This company has great potential and should show its strength in the international market." Several Wall Street CEOs from Merrill Lynch and Bear Stearns said with half smiles, "There are too many scam companies these days. Even if you go to some consulting companies to find out, you will be easily deceived. Not to mention that the company is so big, not everyone in the company may be fooled. He is a genius, and it is not uncommon for a smart man like Buffett to be deceived one day. Everyone present laughed awkwardly. The president of Schroders Group knew what they wanted to say and said, "The money has not been invested yet, and the boots have not yet landed. As for being cheated, I thank you for your reminder. For some people who may be false, we must be more careful with companies that promote propaganda and financial fraud." The people present smiled awkwardly. There were quite a few scandals involving illegal trading among these traders. After experiencing such an embarrassment, the president of Schroders Group was a little dissatisfied with his subordinate investment group. If he invested $3.5 billion, he might really have bought a joke. He even wanted to ask the group's supervisor to check whether the senior executives of the investment group were transferring benefits to GFN Electronics. Thailand. In the evening, Lu Feng held a day-long meeting to confirm that tomorrow's large-scale meeting can be carried out perfectly. During this period of hype, the public's emotions have been ignited, especially middle-aged men, who seem to have already "I'm tired of being dominated by foreign capital." That's it for now. Keep your spirits up tomorrow. This time we only need to win, not lose, Lu Feng said solemnly. After Tongpala left, Lu Feng stood up, moved his body, and said to Kevin, "How is Maha's place?" "The people under him called today and said they were taking Sarami there," Kevin replied. "Take someone away." Lu Feng shook his head after hearing this. "Sarami is still too young now, and there are many women around Maha. He just wants to have fun. If they really meet, they can't agree so quickly, otherwise it will be a fast food." Although Lu Feng knew that this was a historical inevitability, if he lost it after eating it and then found it later, he would have nothing to do. As long as Sarami is stable, GFN's business here will basically be fine. You have to hang it first. This man is like this. He doesn't care if he gets it. You have to use some tricks, Lu Feng pondered. Does Mr. Lu even understand this? Kevin asked with curiosity on his face. Isn't this an inference from me? Just tell him that I will take her to the next dinner party. I have been very busy recently and have no time, Lu Feng said to Kevin. We are my mother's family now, so we can't be too humble. You need to learn to fish, pull the fishing line, and then loosen the fishing line, so that the fish hook can be embedded in the flesh. Do you understand? Understood. Security company. Mr. Lu, my energy is limited. I really can't take care of the security company's affairs. Kevin couldn't help but interrupt Lu Feng. He felt it. As long as he didn't refuse, Mr. Lu would let him do anything. He is the one who contacts the headquarters, he is the one who contacts Li Lin in Europe, he is the one who contacts the new company, he is still the one who contacts the international situation, and he still has to deal with Sarami. Now even those bastards have to ask themselves. Kevin couldn't stand it anymore. He couldn't catch someone and order him to die. Oh, let me call and ask. Lu Feng looked at Kevin and said, you have worked hard during this period. It will be bitter first and then sweet. The overseas business department has done a good job. Your dividend equity this year will definitely be no problem. Thank you, Mr. Lu. It will get better, don't worry. Lu Feng comforted him a few words, then turned around and returned to his room. I called the vice president of the security company to inquire. Now there are more than 500 people. Lu Feng is covering most of Pattaya, and some forces outside Pattaya are also involved. Tomorrow we will mobilize 300 people to be responsible for the security of the venue. At the same time, we will conduct training for the company's internal personnel. This matter must be carried out as soon as possible, Lu Feng ordered on the phone. As I said before, we don't expect the security company to make money. We must carry out training. High salary and high benefits, do you understand? I understand, don't worry, the other end of the phone assured. There have been no other disturbances recently, right? Lu Feng asked. Brother, how could it not be? We have risen too fast. Some people don't like us, or we block other people's financial paths. Today Pike called and asked us not to get involved in his business and some businesses. Otherwise, we will take action. The other end of the phone sighed and said, this person is not easy to mess with, and I plan to tell you. Pike. Lu Feng had heard of this man, and his name seemed to be similar to that of Dicky, but he didn't take it seriously. Get the security work done first, and put the rest aside first. Lu Feng raised his head and glanced at his watch. It was already after 1 o'clock in the middle of the night. After giving the order, he hung up the phone. This period of time was definitely the most exhausting for Lu Feng. Within a few minutes of lying on the bed, he started to snore. The next day, Guangming Electronics Company's publicity during this period was overwhelming. I don't know whether it can be sold. At least the public's verbal support was very strong. Especially Tongpala, who has almost been praised as a god by the people. People spread word of mouth about how he slept on the street, washed dishes, and worked hard to go to school in the United States. Other companies in Thailand naturally noticed this person, and during this period, Tongpala's details were uncovered by many companies. A partner of GFN Electronics, Shatai looked at the information in his hand and frowned. Why did he feel that something was not right about this matter? This information is placed on the desks of the heads of local branches of major companies. Today's conference will not attract attention. Hello, Colin, Shatai called the president of Ericsson branch. The two of them had a relatively good personal relationship. What's wrong? Did you hear about the Tongpala product meeting? I'm looking at it now. This matter is not simple. Colin looked at the information in his hand and said, he has worked hard for half a lifetime to accumulate some contacts and sales channels. Judging from his previous methods, this person will not come to this kind of thing. The method, I think, has the guidance of an expert behind it. And he is also a partner of GFN branch, Shatai said worriedly. You'd better report it to the headquarters, otherwise if something happens, Shi Watanabe will not let you go. No matter how many connections you have here, he will still fire you. When Shatai heard this, his face wrinkled up. What was his life like in the past? Since Watanabe Shi came, everything has changed. After Lu Feng came, life became even more difficult. The original purpose was to discuss with other companies how to monopolize the market. If your family has completed the target, let me do it. Let's have a drink and pick up girls. What a relaxing life. Let's take a look. The sales set by the headquarters for this year have been completed. The purchasing power of this wave of activities is too strong. Shatai was still unwilling to face Watanabe. At 9 o'clock in the morning, a group of people uniformly dressed in black suits appeared outside the stadium, standing outside the venue responsible for guidance and security. A grandmother in her 60s found her grandson among these people and was very surprised. Wanta, are you looking for a job? You are actually working. Grandma, the young man was a little surprised and said, I am here to fool around and I am in charge of security today. Don't disturb me, otherwise the team leader will scold me if he sees it. Grandma, I'm so happy. You've finally become sensible and don't go out fooling around. Oh, I was just hanging out. It's different now. I'm a very formal gangster. Don't stand here, I'm busy. Okay, that's great, the old woman burst into tears with excitement. For fear of disturbing her grandson's work, she walked far away and looked back from time to time, choking and saying, the prodigal son is coming back. People were already entering the venue one after another. Backstage, Lu Feng saw Tongpala sitting there, and the makeup artist was dressing him up. Today he was definitely dressed up for the occasion, and he looked very beautiful even if he was on the same stage with celebrities. Downwind. Lu Feng had just arrived, and when he saw him in such a state, he looked quite unhappy and said in a deep voice, who asked him to dress like this? Tongpala saw Lu Feng coming, with a smile on his face. It could be seen that he was very satisfied with his current dress. He smiled and said, "Mr. Liu, this is my first time on stage. You have asked me to dress up the past few times. Be more modest, I must dress up for such an important stage today. Are you talking nonsense to me? Do you dress like an ordinary person? You have to consider whether the audience is good or not. What is your image? You are an ordinary person who works hard. Patriotism is not something you just talk about. I want you to show it. What you see in front of the people are simple ordinary people who are very economical. Why are you doing all the bells and whistles? Tear everything down for me. Get him a pair of cheap trousers, a pair of old leather shoes, and a plaid shirt on his upper body. Don't blow up your hair. It will make people feel tired. Don't worry about appearance, understand, Lu Feng ordered. Tongpala looked at himself in the mirror and felt a little unhappy, but he could only do what Lu Feng said. The time pointed to 9:30 in the morning, and the stadium with more than 10,000 people was already overcrowded. Kevin came over and said, "The goods are ready, a total of 20,000 VCDs. 10,000 TVs, ready to be used at any time, Ba. Opening. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 906. Latest website. Lu Feng briefly inquired about the situation at the scene and made sure that everything was safe before letting the host officially take the stage. In Tongpala's 50 years of life experience, this was the first time he had experienced this, and he was already a little nervous standing there. Don't be nervous. Just put the walkie-talkie behind you and put on the headphones. I'll teach you how to speak. Lu Feng stared at him and said, "Do you understand?" "I know." Tongpala took a deep breath and stood waiting on stage. The host introduced the company and Tongpala on the stage with great affection, focusing especially on the cost price of foreign invested products. What kind of humiliation is it to sell you something worth tens of dollars for hundreds or thousands of dollars, and you have to queue up to buy it, but people still don't treat you as a human being? The mood on the scene was aroused, and the host said affectionately, "Then, let us welcome Tongpala to the stage with warm applause." There were applause and screams, and some girls even burst into tears. "Go up," Lu Feng said towards him. Tongpala took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage. Standing on the stage, looking at the crowd of people in front of him, he became nervous and did not speak for more than 30 seconds. "Let's talk. Let him greet the audience and introduce himself," Lu Feng ordered. Tongpala felt his legs were trembling. He had made countless sketches in the audience, but at this moment he could not open his mouth. "What a bastard," Lu Feng had sensed his condition and said to the translator, "Hello everyone, my name is Tongpala." After the translator finished speaking into the intercom, Tongpala finally spoke. "I'm very excited. I'm an introvert. I've been busy doing research and development all my life. It's my first time to stand on such a big stage. Please forgive me for my bad remarks," as an honest person Lu Feng continued. What appeared in front of the audience was an old man in simple clothes and an honest expression who stammered. He was not like those smooth-talking businessmen. Such people are the most honest and the least likely to lie. As for me, when I was in my 20s, I witnessed the material scarcity in the country. My family was very poor at that time. I only ate rice for the first time when I was 14 or 15 years old. I went to the United States to study and saw bread for the first time. A piece of bread as big as a palm in foreign countries costs $1, but the price of domestic bread is several times higher," Lu Feng said while standing at the stage. Tongpala stood there like a wooden man on the stage and recited, "This is still made locally. If it is imported goods, it will be more expensive." I learned a lot in the late 1970s. At that time, I was also exposed to a lot of modern technologies, such as telephones, radio technology, semiconductors, etc., but domestic it's still a wasteland in these areas. Do you know how much a mobile phone costs in the United States and FUZU? In their country, a Motorola mobile phone costs $300, which is equivalent to 100,000 baht. But which of their products sells for 100,000 baht in our country? The cheapest one, they all cost 150,000 baht, and the higher end ones are almost 200,000 baht. And what I want to tell you today is that the landline phones, mobile phones, pagers, and televisions sold in China are all technologies that are about to be eliminated. In the international community, a market like ours is classified as substandard market. They will put products with different technical standards based on each country's regulations. What is this? This is technical discrimination. When I was doing research and development abroad, whenever I saw something like this, I always held my breath in my chest. Why do people in my country have to spend the most money and buy products with the lowest technology and look at people's faces? They give in a little bit, and some people happily say how conscientious they are. It shouldn't be like this. The world is not like this. Friends, as a Thai, I can't stand it. I have this ability and I want to give back to everyone when I come back. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep well abroad. Really, let me tell you this, my life abroad is very good. As a top scientific researcher in the world, I have a villa, a luxury car, and the life and circle of the upper class. I told my boss that I want to come back, I want to fill this vacancy. What do you think he said? He said that we Thais are not good, so we should make countless Pattayas and let them have fun. I got angry at that time and threw a cup of coffee directly on his face. I told him loudly, Thailand people, okay. Some people at the scene stood up excitedly and shouted loudly for Thai people to go. Tongpala looked at the constant shouting at the scene, and his nervousness relaxed a lot. He took 2 steps forward and said, at that time, I secretly made a vow in my heart that we must establish an electronics company of our own. The technology is all our own. To be honest, it's very difficult. I have all the skills, but all the supporting equipment is from abroad. After such a long period of hard work, I finally made a breakthrough. Lu Feng saw that he was starting to have his own thoughts and stood there without saying anything. As long as his emotions aroused, everything else would go on easily. Tongpala talked for a long time on the stage about the suppression of him by foreign investors, who put pressure on him in every aspect, and even encountered threats to his life. Even if there are all kinds of difficulties, am I afraid? I'm not afraid. As long as you still support me, I'm not afraid, Tongpala said excitedly. Lu Feng glanced at the time. It was already 11:30 noon, almost dinner time, and said to the translator, tell him that he can take out the goods. Next, whatever I say will be what he says. In my eyes, you are my family. No matter how much hardship I endure or how many grievances I suffer when facing foreign investment, as long as I can get the support of my family, it doesn't matter to me. After my team and I worked hard day and night, I finally got it. We have developed a new product that breaks the monopoly of foreign capital, and it will be released to everyone today. Buy whatever you want. Support domestic products. The nurse arranged below had already stood up and roared with tears in his face. Purchase. Support Dr. Thongpala. Support the light of Thailand. Tens of thousands of people became restless, and everyone lost their own thinking and was moved by the people around them. Tongpala looked at so many people shouting and took the microphone and said, then today I officially announce my company, Guangming Electronics Co., Limited. I hope this company can point a bright road to other domestic companies, and at the same time announce the first product, Guangming VCD. The next step is to introduce the product. This VCD only has the original shell covered with a film of another color, and the golden leopard logo has been changed. Everything else is exactly the same. After briefly introducing the product, after sales service, etc., Lu Feng saw that it was already past 12 o'clock and said, "Hurry up and announce the price, time is tight. Everyone has a certain understanding of our first product." "How about you guessing the price?" Tongpala asked the scene. 100,000, someone shouted. 80,000. People at the scene kept shouting that the price was low. Tongpala looked at the scene and said, "Everyone has really suffered from foreign invested products for too long. I just said at the beginning that their cost price is very low, so I will announce the price now. 59,009. As soon as the price came out, there were exclamations at the scene. Kevin stood aside and was a little nervous. The previous price of Golden Leopard VCD here was almost 55,000 baht, which is equivalent to more than 6,000 yuan in China. Sales are not counted. How nice. Can it be sold? Kevin asked nervously. Don't worry, as long as the product has a certain meaning and the price is not so high, then sales volume will no longer be a problem, not to mention that VCD is in Thailand and we are the only one. Lu Feng did not panic at all, as if he had already seen the ending. More than 10,000 units have been prepared for you on site today. You only need to pay with your seat number, and the staff will deliver the products to you. Tongpala said solemnly, "Thank you for your support. I believe that the Illuminati will get better and better. If you feel that I am not doing well, you can return it to me for a refund at any time within 7 days as long as it is not man-made damage. Thank you." There was a panic buying at the scene, and people were constantly asking people to sit in their seats. All the people who were originally responsible for external security were mobilized to the venue. "Sit down, if you want to buy it, give me the money and I will give you the product later," a man in a suit and tie scolded. "Sit down, or I will chop you to death." In less than half an hour, more than 10,000 VCDs were sold out. The sales manager came over and said excitedly, "Mr. Lu, it's all sold out. It's all sold out. There's nothing left in half an hour. There are still 5,000 units left," TV said. "That's great, it's a good start," Kevin said excitedly. "If the word of mouth can build up, and with this momentum, I think we can keep going at a low price." "What's so exciting about this?" Lu Feng looked at the two of them and said, "The quality of the product is good enough, the price is low, plus it's a domestic product to build momentum. Shouldn't it be successful? The time is almost up, let him sell it quickly. Please prepare some food for me." Thongpala stood on the stage and his hands were shaking. What kind of sales speed is this? More than 10,000 units, 600 million baht was obtained in half an hour? He was in a daze. Even the money-making factory couldn't do it at this speed. The translator's voice came from the earphones. "Mr. Lu asked you to sell TV sets quickly and announce the store and the future development of the company. Mr. Lu has already gone to dinner. Okay, there is a new product to meet with you next. In fact, color TV technology is very mature and is not considered high-end technology globally. Thongpala seems to have mastered this routine. As long as you pay today, it will be delivered directly to your door as the store opens in a few days." He also announced on the spot that there will be no less than 70 stores in Bangkok in the next week. Likewise, if you want to take away something today, you can take it away on the spot. There were 6 dishes on Lu Feng's table. He was just having a simple meal. While eating, Lu Feng told Kevin, "Recently, we need to contact more local departments and award Tongpala an award. Give out an award or something, and then focus on promoting these honors and awards." Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 907. Latest website. At less than 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this massive meeting ended successfully, with total sales exceeding 1 billion baht. This news was like a thunder that exploded in the Thai business community. Some people in the local business community have studied Tongpala before and believe that his model will not work. In the end, offline channels will be king. However, as soon as today's sales came out, Bangkok's business community exploded. Many people have seen the new business model, and sales of hundreds of millions are enough to support them in commercializing this model. There are constant phone calls among the local business community. Everyone has seen the rise of Tongpala in a short period of time. From a small businessman with a net worth of less than 10 million yuan, he has transformed into a business tycoon in such a short period of time. This speed is too fast. Everyone who talked about him on the phone said one thing with certainty, that is, there must be an expert behind Tongpala, and this expert is not an ordinary person. Look at his recent operation techniques, starting from press campaigns, to media interviews, half-hour-long advertisements, and various inspirational stories. He is extremely proficient in this set. In just 10 days, the arrangement is very tight, almost bombing-like. This is definitely not the first time that the person behind the scenes has done this. Tongpala's success is sensational. Many foreign managers such as Shatai have already felt that something is wrong. At this moment, he just doesn't want to report it and can't hide it. Once it affects their sales, no one will be held responsible. Can't afford it? Last night, there was still a conflict between Pike's people and Lu Feng's people. Both sides set up their positions and showed off their troops. There were only some small-scale conflicts, and 2 or 3 people were injured. For the first time, Pike saw how fast this man who had never met before, nicknamed the Rich Man, was developing so fast. There were even rumors in Pattaya that the reason why the rich man was developing so fast and being so arrogant was mainly because of the people above him. Pike was a little unsure, and was going to treat him tonight to find out the details. In the evening, in a private room of a 5-star hotel, there was a man in his 30s sitting in front of the table. He looked a bit shabby, about 1.8 meters tall, with short hair and dark complexion. He was wearing a suit, which made him look a little, distinct businessman atmosphere. The waiter led a few men into the private room. Parker, who was sitting there, saw Mu Jia coming, stood up and said with a smile, "It's really a blessing to have you come. Sit down quickly, Mu Jia. What has Brother Scum been busy with recently?" "I just solved something. I haven't had much to do recently." As Mu Jia spoke, the waiter had already started to serve the dishes, Yan Baoqi, whatever was more expensive. It's obvious that he has something to do with him. Muse lit a cigarette and said, "Pike, you are also a respectable person on the road. Just tell me about anything. If I can give you face, I will definitely give you face. I feel reassured by your words. Something has really happened recently. There is a man nicknamed Rich recently. Did you know that he covers most of Pattaya?" Pike inquired. "I didn't hear that. I'm not interested in these things, and I can't make much money." "What's wrong?" Mu Jia leaned on the chair and asked casually. "I heard that there was someone above him." "Didn't you hear anything in the army?" Pike asked directly. "No. I'm the only one doing things outside." Muse blew out a puff of smoke and said, "There are so many people out there showing off and cheating. I can't go out alone, so why don't you just inquire with me? Then I can rest assured. If he has no background and is still so arrogant, he is simply looking for death." Pike picked up the wine glass and said, "I'll toast you. When will you introduce me to some big shots?" "Don't worry, there will be more in the future, no matter what little thing it is, just leave it to me." Mu Jia clinked the cup. He was different from people like De Gui and Pike. He did some private work when he was free. He mainly acted as a white glove for the big bosses and did things that were inconvenient for them to come forward to do. "Naturally, I don't care about these social bastards." After asking the scumbag, Pike thought that he was just a newly minted rich man and wanted to step on him because he was tired of living. At around 7 o'clock in the evening, Lu Feng had dinner in the hotel and held a seminar with Tongpala and Kevin's senior executives to respond quickly to the current market and require all 70 stores to be online within 3 days. There is no need to decorate or anything else, just set up a counter and stock the goods. This will first satisfy consumers' consumption passion and seize the market. At the same time, the decoration should not be too luxurious, which is to create a poor state for consumers in Tongpala. Lu Feng looked at the top management of Tongpala and said, let's go in this direction first, determine the basic consumer base, slowly promote products, and do a good job in product marketing and brand marketing positioning. You can go back first. It won't take a day. Tired? Mr. Lu, please be busy first. Tongpala stood up and left with everyone. Lu Feng smoked a cigarette and asked Kevin, how's it going over there at Maha? Is it still noisy? That's not the case. Fortunately, it's a prince who sent me an invitation the day after tomorrow to attend a dinner party held by a wealthy businessman. It seems to be that Songpa. Kevin thought for a while and confirmed, it's him. Okay, let's do this one thing at a time. Now we have 3 hands on it. When these 3 aspects are strengthened, even if the King of Heaven comes, I still have to make way for me. Lu Feng glanced at me time, just when I was about to say that I could take a rest tonight, a staff member came over. Mr. Lu, I got a call from you today. She said her name is Kelly's. Kelly's, Lu Feng was stunned. He finally returned to China and explained why he found her here. He said, no answer. If I call you again, I'll tell you that you're looking for the wrong place. Lu Feng stood up and went back to the room. As soon as he took a shower, the security company called. Brother Hao, Pike's people are here to mess up the situation. They have sent out invitations and want to meet and talk with you tonight. The vice president on the other end of the phone looked a little anxious and said, he seems to be serious about it. Talk to me? What to talk about? Lu Feng asked. In the past few days, several bosses have seen us acting more formal and have come to talk to us about business. He is responsible for 2 of them, and we have offended a lot of people. Those people can't do anything to us, so just I went to Pike to report the debt, and by the way, I also went to De Gui, but De Gui ignored him. The other end of the phone looked a little anxious. Obviously, this is the biggest crisis that the security company has faced since its establishment. If Pike breaks it up in one fell swoop, it will really break up. Lu Feng heard the importance of this matter and said, I'll be there right away. Where are you? There is a bar street in the back street of Bangkok University. We talk about everything there. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng changed his clothes and informed the team leader that it was time to set off. The 2 cars sped off into the distance under the night. Pike learned that Lu Feng had no backing, and he was not willing to endure it any longer. Today, he had to vent his anger on the gangsters on the Bangkok roads, and at the same time, Lu Feng was in the limelight. He and De Gui were equally famous. If he could handle this matter by himself, there would be more brothers who would rely on him. Suppressing De Gui is not a problem. Pattaya is extremely lively tonight. Under the hot night are hot men and women, and even hotter are these gangsters. For them, a bloody storm in the world is about to begin. Bar Street, tourists go to Pattaya, and regular customers are all the bar street behind the university. This is a paradise for bastards. At the end of the bar street is a barren grassland. It is also a place where people in the world resolve their disputes. I don't know how many heroes are here. Became a lonely ghost. At around 9 o'clock in the evening, thousands of people had gathered here, most of them came to watch the fun, and some of the younger brothers had already arrived. Recently, the name of the rich was so loud that everyone wanted to see their true appearance. Lu Feng first went to Right Bar and met with the vice president to have a brief exchange about today's events. Hearing that there were many people there, Lu Feng said solemnly, then I'd better wear a mask, otherwise other things will happen. Brothers are all holding their breath now. We are developing well and it is very standardized now. When we go to some bars and nightclubs to see the scene, we don't beat the customers or ask for tips or anything like that. These people are jealous of us. Yes, 2 brothers were beaten last night. How many people does this pike have? Lu Feng asked. He called all the people here. That's a lot of people. There are probably thousands of people. This guy has been around for a long time. There is a pike and a diggy. They are both famous and are called the kings of the underground, someone next to me explained. Lu Feng has already figured out the details of Digui. They are just a bunch of gangsters. They have some connections behind the scenes, but they are by no means tough. He doesn't know what is going on with this pike. If he can be taken in, he can basically be sure of stability in the future. Okay. Then deal with him, Lu Feng said solemnly. Several people at the scene looked at each other, a little embarrassed, and said awkwardly, Mr. Lu, we can't do it with the few people we have now. Can't do it? Then do it forcefully, Lu Feng said solemnly. When everyone heard this, their hearts sank. It seemed that there was destined to be a bloody battle tonight. They were already making plans in their minds. They should go forward to make money. When it comes to fighting, they should stay back. Shatai simply reported the matter to Guangming Electronics today, but he still wanted to resolve the matter himself. He sent someone to the hotel today to inquire. Lu Feng did not leave. Lu Feng was the one behind this matter. Log out of the company and ask Tongpala to play Li Dai Dao Zombie for me. You can do it, but no matter how fancy your tricks are, it's useless here. If you don't leave, don't blame me for being rude. In the office, Shatai looked out the window with a gloomy tone. He didn't mind giving Lu Feng a boost in memory. Latest website. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 908. Latest website. Of course, it is impossible to just smash things without saying a word like before. Muzha has not been paid yet, so even if Shatai wants to ask Muzha to do things again, he will definitely not do it. So he planned to be polite first and then attack. If Lu Feng didn't want to be nice, he wouldn't mind destroying a few more stores. If that didn't work, he would have someone break his legs. At the end of the bar street, the crowd was already crowded, just like a vegetable market. Many young people were squatting aside and watching. Cars came one after another, all of them were big guys who had risen to fame in the world. Several tables and chairs have been moved in front of both parties. They will be talking here tonight, and the car lights illuminate this area like daylight. 10 minutes later, the two sides were almost there. There were 3,000 to 4,000 people at the scene. Lu Feng's hundreds of people, who could not leave except to watch the scene, were all present. A Mercedes-Benz was driving slowly. At this moment, everyone's eyes were fixed on the car. A young man opened the car door, and Lu Feng stepped out with one foot. Then he got out of the car. Everyone's eyes widened to see a glimpse of the formation of the rich. When he saw a person wearing a masquerade mask, the crowd booed in disappointment. Pike sat there and snorted, pretending to be a ghost. Brother Hao, please come this way, the captain led the way. Lu Feng sat on the chair and looked at Parker across from him. This was the first time he had seen him in this situation, but he had seen him in the old Hong Kong movies Young and Dangerous. Rich man, right? Pike smoked a cigarette and sneered, you're a humming foreigner, why? Why don't you just bring a translator with you when you come to hang out with us? The captain stood aside and translated. Damn it, you really brought a translator. There was constant laughter all around. This was the first time for them to come out with an interpreter, which was quite a spectacle. Lu Feng also lit a cigarette and said, what kind of practice are you going to do today? Literary or martial arts? Written. Martial. People here in Pike are very happy. They are all here to hang out, and they are here to write letters? Of course we have to talk first. You have to be reasonable when you go out to hang out. If you can't be reasonable, then don't blame me for being rude. As a foreigner, you may not know that if you do these things here, how many brothers will have no food to eat? Pike held the cigarette between two fingers, and shouted to Lu Feng with his fingers, "Smash our jobs, believe it or not, you will die without a burial place. I left them with no food to eat. Why are you questioning me instead of questioning them? Do you know a market rule, which is called good money driving out bad money? Are they working hard enough? Why are they unemployed? If they say they are not working hard enough, it will be followed by those who work hard have the same income. Isn't it unfair to those who work hard?" Lu Feng stared at him and asked, "Let me ask you, a bastard, he works very hard and practices sword skills every day to strengthen his body, to ensure the smooth operation of every place, he works under his subordinates, but in the end he is still responsible for the security work. Do you think this is fair?" Pike wanted to curse and start directly, but he didn't know how to refute. "If I were that person, I would never follow you. On the contrary, if I didn't do anything, I would just drink in the bar every day, and I would hide behind when I went out to fight. There were so many people anyway, no one would notice me, so you are a person who is willing to be a gangster among gangsters. What do you do when your team starts to have problems?" Lu Feng stared at him and asked, "Do you think this is fair?" "Unfair," someone shouted in the distance. "Is this what the hell I'm telling you now? I mean, you're taking over the place and the brothers have nothing to eat." Pike slapped the table with his hand and yelled. "This is the same issue I'm discussing. Why don't those people who have nothing to eat improve their competitiveness? Do you know how dissatisfied the owners of bars and nightclubs are with your services? Harassing guests, not paying for drinks, etc. Not only will it not be able to maintain order, but it will also increase chaos." Lu Feng said to him, "When you lose your job, I hope you will find problems within yourself and improve your abilities. It's the brother's fault. What's wrong with him ordering a drink? We're just here to mess around, okay?" Pike was so angry with him. "When did you become a waiter? Okay, you come out to hang out, do you want money? Nonsense, how can you buy something if you don't have money?" Pike scolded. "Can you speak a few human words? As for the translator, let him speak human words. Since you want money, you have to talk about productivity. You are not involved in production and belong to the tertiary industry. And places like bars and nightclubs are your important sources of money. So let me ask you, when the operating conditions of these places are not good, who gave you the money? You can say, let's switch to a second company, but when the second company hears about your behavior, will they let you go? You are the only gangsters in this world. I think we need to improve our competitiveness. When you step down from your position, you should see your own shortcomings instead of asking me why I took your job. Do you understand?" Lu Feng said righteously. The surroundings were a little quiet, and thousands of people were thinking thoughtfully at this moment. It was indeed the truth. If bars and nightclubs didn't make money, they would have no money. "I won't talk to you about this. I don't understand you. I only have one thing to do today. Get out of here and let the brothers go to their original place to play." Pike himself felt that he was a little messed up. "You are welcome to play and spend money here at any time. We will not let it go because this is the job opportunity we will get after our boss affirms us with our abilities." Lu Feng looked at the younger brother behind him and said, "I think you should think carefully about whether there is a future for following a boss who is unwilling to learn or be exposed to new things. The trend of the times is moving forward. Maybe one day being a gangster will become a sunset industry and you will no longer make money. What will you do?" You, when I was hanging out with Brother Pi, you were still wearing crotchless pants. When I was hanging out, my head was pinned to the waistband of my pants." A man who looked like a middle-class gangster stood up and shouted. "Very good. How much money have you earned after working for so long? Have you bought a house? Have you married a wife? Do you have a car? What level are you at now? Lu Feng asked him. The man suddenly became sluggish. All the money he earned was spent on the same day. The woman had a lot of experience, but she didn't have anyone to be his wife, and she also drove the car. We are a brotherhood, what do you know? Okay. What a brother. So, you, the big brother, do you have a car? Do you have a house? Do you have a wife? Lu Feng pointed at Pike and asked. The whole place fell silent, and all eyes were fixed on Parker. Of course he was famous, not to mention houses, villas, several wives, and a lot of luxury cars. Let's not talk about this now. I have never wronged any brother. I made all my money from investments. I just want to ask you, are you going to get the hell out of here? Pike slapped the table and stood up with an angry expression. But it was obvious that he felt guilty. When you come out to hang out, you have to drink wine and eat meat together. The one who works harder will get more. If you want to blend in with the crowd and take advantage, let him get out. Instead of letting people with smooth words and flattery come up, you will stay in silence all day long. They are watching the show, what about them? Lu Feng shouted at the same row of tables. They all humming came out to mess around, and they can't even get a fair chance. Pike's younger brother has already begun to feel uneasy. There are indeed people who have been hanging out with him for many years, and now they still look at the situation. Everyone wants to be awesome, but in these years, only Pike has become famous. Stop saying these deceptive words here, I tell you, I will let you die here tonight. Pike became angry and dared to alienate his brothers. If you are really worthy of the brothers, who can confuse them? The more you work, the more you will get. This is the most basic truth. Don't let me say it. Come and try to hack me to death. The brothers behind me won't agree, because we my brothers all work a lot and get a lot, but I don't make a penny because I'm a rich man and I have a lot of money. Lu Feng pointed at Pike and shouted, do you believe it or not, I'll buy a few tanks and blow you up, what a bastard. Hum him for me. As Pike spoke, he pulled out his gun. Only less than 100 people behind him made any move. Everyone else looked at him. Everyone could see that he was angry and had been poked in a sore spot. Everyone on Lu Feng's side instantly got ready. You can kill me, but can you erase the injustice in the hearts of the brothers? What this world needs is fairness, and what it needs more is for them to spend their youth and earn money to go back to live, instead of you not having to do anything, but giving the most. Put the money in your wallet. Lu Feng looked at him and said, if you shoot, believe it or not, we will beat you to a pulp in an instant. Pike knew that the night was over and he couldn't stay any longer, otherwise all his brothers would run to the other side. He stood up and said, wait, we'll talk about this another time, get out. Capitalists also know that they need to give holidays to the people below and raise wages to enhance social consumption power, so that they can have room to survive. If you don't even understand these, don't think that you don't need to study if you become a bastard, otherwise you won't be able to afford food for the rest of your life. 4 dishes. Lu Feng said to the people around him, whether you are a bastard or a brother-in-law, you must take your own share, otherwise, you will be regarded as a fool at most. Parker got in the car and left. Just now, he really wanted to shoot Lu Feng's mouth open, but he knew that he couldn't let the gun go off, otherwise he would have to answer for it. Seeing that Pike's people had finished leaving, Lu Feng looked around and said, welcome to join Fuhao Security Company. We are particularly friendly to gangsters who are willing to put their minds down and have a good time. The kind who don't want to do anything but just want to drink and cause trouble. Damn, we don't welcome you. We are very fair and divided into different levels. As long as you work hard enough, within a year, you will become the deputy manager of an entertainment venue. With us, you can make your dreams come true and drive a luxury car. Live in a villa and become a respected bastard. Latest website. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 909. Latest website. Lu Feng stepped into his luxury car, leaving only a group of young people standing there. They seemed to have touched something, but they couldn't figure it out. Looking at the so-called brothers beside them, they didn't seem so friendly anymore. Yes, who doesn't want to drive a luxury car and live in a mansion, but he helps his brothers go out to fight every day, and some people don't even have a meal. It seems that he has become a cheap tool for them. There were a lot of people following Parker at first, but as a result, he had too many evil intentions and got ahead of himself. There are no fools in this world, it just needs someone to bring this matter to light. On the way back, Lu Feng said to the manager next to him, "In the past few days, give me a few role models who can convince the public in all aspects, and then give me the title of vice president, and then give me a big reward, so that this matter can be solved. The children will spread in the market and form a communication effect, do you understand?" "What's the reward? How much is it?" the manager asked. "A house and a car." "This is too expensive," the manager said in surprise. "Of course it's not a direct gift. I'll give you the right to use the car for 5 years and the right to use the house for 10 years. After signing the contract, just don't mention these when publicizing it to the outside world." Lu Feng smoked a cigarette and turned his head and said, "I want to give it to you. Everyone knows that if you come out to hang out, you have to hang out with the rich guy, you know. Clear? When there are more people, we need to strengthen management. For those who are motivated and have good looks and height, they should be trained as bodyguards. If you want to do it, then let's do it in a formal way." Lu Feng originally wanted to gather a group of people. If the company was smashed, there would be no need for anyone. Now that he was going to take this company seriously, he might as well get a security company that could not only provide him with security. Services can also be provided externally. "Mr. Lu, height and appearance are not that important, as a bodyguard." "What do you know?" Lu Feng interrupted him directly and said, "How much money can a bodyguard around a man earn? Have you ever seen a rich man hire a bodyguard 30-65 days a year? Of course, if serving female users is the only way to make money." Clear? The car went to the office. At around 11 o'clock in the evening, Lu Feng gathered the management of Regal Security for a meeting. It was not appropriate to attack people like Parker. How many years had he been in business, his interpersonal relationships, and the gun in his hand? There are more than them. We must learn to distract people, and at the same time, the company must enhance welfare benefits. We must slowly cultivate the brothers who have just joined, and form a corporate culture at the bottom. Some bastards will get used to it and slowly tame them. When you first join, you must set a successful example for them, slowly use rules and regulations to restrict them, deal with expulsions that cannot be restrained, and classify talents. Those who can be trained to become bodyguards can become bodyguards. They are good looking, but if your ability is average, just be a duck. If you are not good looking and have average abilities, just go see the show. Expand business as much as possible within the scope allowed by Thai law, and at the same time strengthen ties with the police, and win over some retired but still influential people. I won't give you much money, but I hope you can do a good job. If you want to become bigger and stronger, you must first organize the messy industry and then manage and operate it. The most important thing now is to sort out the industry and be targeted. Sexual propaganda. Lu Feng glanced at the time and it was already past midnight, and said, "Okay, that's it, I'll give you some time to do it, see the effect. If it works well, you can just do it, if it doesn't work, you can do it. Okay, just replace him." The few people present looked a little stressed. Since following Lu Feng, these people have indeed gained a lot of fame in a short period of time, but they are also under a lot of pressure. It is not as comfortable as being a second-rate gangster. Lu Feng stood up and saw their state, and said, "Don't be afraid of difficulties when doing things, and don't limit yourself to one problem. Only by facing up to difficulties can you see a broader sky. My group is a large company facing the world. As long as you do well, you will be eligible to get equity in the company, and the days of just lying around and making money are behind you." This piece of pie made the resentment between their eyebrows dissipate a lot, and they all nodded and said goodbye. "Brother, how? Everything is difficult at the beginning. We are all brothers, how can I treat you badly?" Lu Feng said a few polite words, turned around and left. When we returned to the hotel, it was almost 2 o'clock. A clerk was waiting at the door, yawning sleepily. When he saw Lu Feng coming back, he hurriedly said, "Mr. Lu, there is something more important. The CEO of Motorola's branch. I'll treat you to dinner, I'll send an invitation, and the bosses from other branches will be there." "Branch company," Lu Feng snorted. He even got to have a dinner table with the head of the branch company. He took the invitation, which was written in Chinese. "We will have dinner at a local 5-star hotel at noon tomorrow. Ericsson, Toshiba, etc., Sony, and Panasonic are all there. Are we calling all the companies that are good at selling in the Thai market? Okay, let's put it on the schedule tomorrow." Lu Feng asked the clerk to rest. He yawned and went back to his room to rest. Regarding tomorrow's luncheon, Lu Feng had a pretty good guess as to what these people wanted to say. But now the branch office is already full-fledged. No matter what methods they use, that's what happens next. The next day, domestically, the international financing of GFN Electronics was once featured in the domestic heavy media. It was called a model for private enterprises and an example for learning. However, so many things have happened during this period, but there is no news in the country. Even if 10,000 people are unhappy with Lu Feng, they can at most talk about it privately. Going against important media is not looking for trouble. After such a long time, some small newspapers finally couldn't hold it in any longer and published an article, "Did GFN Electronics really go global?" As soon as the news came out, everyone seemed to have been holding it in for a long time, and everyone was in a panic. Enterprises, led by Konka's old rivals, all stood up and laughed at GFN Electronics. "How can we have fun if we don't step in at this time?" Wei Yandan and Zhu Lidong put out the fire urgently and spoke out through various channels. In the office of Hua Cotton Factory, Zhang Xiaoyan sat and read today's newspaper. She read the article over and over again and called some people to ask. Lu Feng had been in Thailand for such a long time and there was no news at all. No, why didn't she know that this trip would be difficult? What's wrong? Sister Daiyu, Zhang Fengxia opened the door and walked in, sat down and said, "I saw you frowning slightly and sighing frequently so early in the morning. You look so pitiful and endearing. You still have the intention to tease me." He must have encountered difficulties during his trip abroad. "Didn't you also say that it is very difficult to go international now?" The last time he went to Wall Street, this trip to Thailand, Zhang Xiaoyan sighed and said the newspaper was handed to her. The international market is not that simple. Behind it is the influence of the country. Our country's current international status is not enough. Companies will naturally be bullied when going abroad. What's more, GFN's technology has no advantage at all compared with international large companies. This is also it was him, and the others didn't even have the courage to go out. Zhang Fengxia put down the newspaper and said, "Don't worry about him. If he can't handle it, even pinching us together won't be enough. Let's think about our small factory. We can make a lot of money this year. We will pay dividends at the end of the year. Expansion. The market conditions are good now and there are many orders. I want to expand." Zhang Xiaoyan also felt that Zhang Fengxia's salary was too little and said, "How about we share some of it? Farewell, if you get even 1 cent, the majority will be taken away by Hurricane Capital." They are now the major shareholders, so we won't pay any dividends. We will use the factory's food, drink, and toilet. Zhang Fengxia suddenly felt something and said, yes. Well, it seems that Hurricane Capital spent the money and there is no news about it anymore. That's right, Zhang Xiaoyan also felt something was wrong. He had tens of millions of dollars in capital and said, do you think it's possible that the company is too big and has forgotten about us? You can't act blindly if you forget. Anyway, let's do whatever is comfortable for us. All the money from the factory will be spent on replacing your house. Don't worry about the money. Think about it, you spend 100 yuan and there are 80 yuan in it. $5 belongs to that bastard from Hurricane Capital, Zhang Fengxia said with a smile. Are you willing to spend money? It seems like it doesn't hurt so much anymore. The two looked at each other and couldn't help laughing. At around 9 o'clock, Lu Feng just woke up and actually had a dream. He dreamed of Zhang Xiaoyan. After the two were together again, they spent money lavishly. The quality of my sleep lately is really not that good. Lu Feng muttered something. He didn't eat breakfast after getting out of bed and washed up. He bumped heads with Kevin. The first batch of stores will be officially opened today. There is a lot of work in all aspects, but fortunately they are all the same people. It can be considered well organized. A series of advertisements such as TV commercials, billboards, mobile promotional vehicles, rainbow doors, newspapers, etc. have been launched in the past few days. After the first batch of users took the product back and used it yesterday, they all felt that the quality was very good. This place is not big to begin with, but such bombardment of advertising, coupled with word of mouth, has created a certain advertising effect. When the store opened, there was a long queue, and VCDs were out of stock for a time. The manager of every store stood at the door, bowing with tears in his eyes and thanking him. Thank you. I believe that with your support, our Thai electronics industry will definitely rise. The store manager stood outside and kept repeating the sentence. People who came to buy felt much more comfortable when they saw the store manager in such a state. Compared with buying foreign brands, they felt more pride and vanity in their hearts. He felt that everyone around him was looking at him, and the feeling of being recognized was really exciting. Before the noon meal had even started, Shatai and the others received a big blow. All 17 stores opened on the first day were sold out. Latest website.